Every video and episode of the It's Cavalier podcast is made possible by my supporters over on Patreon. If you enjoy the show here today, consider signing up. You'll get early access, exclusive videos, podcasts, member shoutouts, and more. And as always, thank you for watching. It's going to be a long off season, ladies and gentlemen. Going to be a long off season that I don't think any of us were prepared for coming as early as it did. That much is for certain. So right off the bat, before the intro, let me just say this. Credits to the Indiana Pacers. Don't want to take anything away from the series that they just won. We can talk all the live long day about what the Cavaliers didn't have, what the Cavaliers did have, injuries, this or that. Credit to the Indiana Pacers. You just got to give it to them, man. They came in, they gentlemen swept this 64-win Cleveland Cavaliers team, and all you can really do is just give them their flowers, man. Give them their fair share. You got to give them their credit. They brought it. They seemed like they wanted it more in this one. And you know what? There's something to be admired about that mentality, because at the end of the day, what Cleveland has now done in back-to-back games, really throughout the entirety of this series, is kind of choke things away to a degree. It is a lot of things that occurred, or should I say there are a lot of things that occurred from this team that was flat out not up to par. Very disgusting. The shooting is right up there at the top of that, right? Cavaliers did not shoot well in this series at all. They came into tonight shooting just 30.2% from three-point range. In the prior 4 games, it would not get any better tonight, as the collective would shoot just 25.7%. No bueno. No bueno. You're not going to win the series, especially when the Indiana Pacers are as solid as they are. This is an extremely good Indiana Pacers team. They do what they do very, very well. They're very, very good shooters of the basketball. They play at a pace that, frankly, bothers a lot of teams. Bothered Cleveland, especially in transition. A lot of transition opportunities that they got throughout the duration of this series. And you know what? They didn't get a ton of them tonight. There were much less transition opportunities. But what did happen is they knocked down timely shots. I mean, they just poured them in. I mean, Tyrese Halliburton, after starting the game shooting very poorly, I believe they were 1 of 8 at a certain point. That grew to 3 of 13. And then Tyrese Halliburton began knocking down shot after shot after shot from three-point distance, many of them coming at pivotal moments of the game. Cavaliers built as much as a 19-point lead in this one, if I am not mistaken, and they could not hold it. That got dwindled down to 3, maybe 4 by halftime because of the hot shot making of Indy and the poor shot making of the Cavaliers. You're not going to win a series when that happens. You know, in this new day and age where a three-point shot is king, no lead is safe. We have seen so many large leads being sacrificed in this playoffs, not just this series, but in the playoffs in general. And the Cavaliers have been on the fair end of many of these, man. They have. Let's call a spade a spade. Cavaliers have a problem closing. They have a problem finishing teams off. It's tough. It's tough. Now, I entered this series with a ton of respect for the Indiana Pacers. I've said that all series long. If you watch the series preview that I dropped, gave them their fair share, gave them their credit. I thought the series would go 6 games. Obviously, it did not. There are a lot of things that that you could point to as reasoning or context for that. And while context is important, at the end of the day, nobody cares about that. The only thing that they're going to look back at is the fact that this Cavaliers team failed to get it done. They failed to get it done. At the end of the day, Cavaliers just shit the bed. They did, man. They built that 19-point lead. They let Indy back into it. Indy takes the lead, rips the hearts out of collective Cleveland fan base. Thing I'll say about it is this. I admire the play of Donovan Mitchell in this series. I admire the play of Evan Mobley when he's been out there in this series. There are a couple of others. But there are also a select few that struggled mightily in this series. And I'll tell you what, none more so than Ty Jerome. I'm not going to pin this on Ty Jerome because Ty Jerome is not the reason why the Cavaliers lost this game. He is a major reason that contributed to it, but he's not ultimately the reason why they lost. Cavaliers lost this as a unit. Nobody could hit shots, especially from three-point distance, not even Donovan Mitchell. It was bad, man. Absolutely horrific perimeter shooting from just about everybody across the board, save for one performance from Don from three-point range. He would finish 4 of 13 from three-point distance tonight. And he hit some timely ones down the stretch. The Cavaliers cut it 2-1 after Indy jumped out to a lead of their own. But at the end of the day, he ran out of gas. Finished with 35 points, 9 rebounds, 4 steals, 1 assist, was just 8 of 25. So he was inefficient as hell himself, just 32% from the field. But at the end of the day, when not many others are stepping up, you're not getting a lot of contributions off of your bench, you're not getting what you have normally gotten throughout the duration of the season, you're leaning on Donovan Mitchell more than you have ever had to have leaned on him. We know Darius Garland is hobbled. You know, that shot has been gone. You know, the explosiveness, the speed from him, the quick twitch ability is just not there after his return. He gutted it out. So Darius Garland has my respect for that. Can't take that away from him. But at the end of the day, he did not have a great series. Again, there's context that needs to be applied to that, but nobody cares about the context. Nobody cares about the context. So, respect for the injuries that they played through, respect for Donovan Mitchell gutting it out on the ankle, respect for Darius Garland gutting it out on the injured toe. You know, DeAndre Hunter's been ailing. You had some issues with Evan Mobley, obviously, and then so on and so forth. No Sam Merrill tonight. The injuries just kind of piled up at the worst possible time. But at the end of the day, backs against the wall. When you build a 19-point lead, you're expected to close it out. You're expected to bring it home. Just did not happen. And it happened multiple times in this series. Happened in game 2. We saw that happen. Happened tonight. They have a problem finishing teams off. You cannot let a team like the Indiana Pacers, who are more than capable of becoming flammable from three-point range, more than capable of running up the score, more than capable of getting down in transition, getting so many opportunities out there. You cannot let them get hot because they can destroy leads at the drop of a hat. It just makes you really disappointed about the season that they have had. But I'm not gonna sit up here and make a ton of excuses. I'm just not gonna do it. As this team, they have some fundamental issues that need to be solved. Now, I'll tell you what, Somebody is already, and I'm not even going to say somebody, there's a lot of people out there that are going to state that they want to break up the core four. This team is peaked, or they have gone as far as they can with Darius, Donovan, Jared, Evan. Look, all I'm going to say, all I'm going to say is I don't have the answers to these questions. The Cavaliers are a second apron team. There are not a lot of moves out there that can be made. They can't take on additional money. So any move that you would need to make or feel compelled to make would have to bring in players that make sense alongside one another and from a monetary perspective. You can't just make any old deal just because you're ready to move on from the core four. Now, ultimately, this is a question for Colby Altman. This is a question for the front office in determining who makes the most sense if they're going to target somebody. But as of right now, you're probably looking, whether we like it or not, whether you agree with me or not. Frankly, I don't care if you agree with me. I don't make the decisions. But at the end of the day, this is going to be on Kobe Altman's shoulders because there are going to be a lot of people calling for change. And after losing the way that they did, losing 3 games, mind you, at home, not just losses, but you lost 3 on your home court. That's tough to stomach, especially the way that it happened. The leads that were sacrificed. Disheartening. That leaves a sour taste in the mouth of many a fan, including myself. But at the end of the day, you got to call a spade a spade. Cavaliers just were not ready. Pacers were. You got to give them the credit. I honestly, it's hard to have rational conversations with the fan base right now, especially with after what just occurred, because there are going to be people saying, "Yeah, we need to move on from this player, this player, this player, this player." There's also going to be a ton of Pacers fans that feel that they are the better team. And you know what? I don't know. I really, after watching what just occurred, you're not going to see me sitting up here saying, "Oh, we are the better team. We're the better team. We're the better team." And yeah, sometimes the better team does lose. But at the end of the day, Cleveland lost. And that is all in my mind that matters. I give a damn if you believe the Pacers are the better team, if you believe the Cavaliers are the better team. I give a damn what you believe. At the end of the day, the only thing that matters is that the Pacers are advancing and the Cavs are not. I mean, that's really all that I could say. And you know what? Today is it's not going to be one that is looked too fondly. It's just not. If you're a Pacers fan, you love it. You should. If you're a Cavaliers fan, you don't. I am I'm not going to mince words when I say that. So I'm not going to sit up here and I'm not going to preach about how the Cavaliers should do this or that because I don't have the answers, guys. I don't have the answers. All I can say is I appreciate what the Cavaliers did during the regular season. It sucks that the injuries happened at the time that they did. It definitely changed the dynamic of what this series potentially could have been had all of these guys entered healthy. But at the end of the day, they had opportunities to win. They had opportunities to win. Like I can't, I cannot sit up here just as an objective observer, and that's what I've tried to do during this entire series is not lean too far in one direction. Obviously, I'm a Cavaliers fan. Obviously, I'm a Cavaliers fan, but the one thing that I wanted to kind of try and steer away from is just being a homer in this series. Um, Especially considering the caliber of opponent that they were facing. You have to just be real at certain points. You just do. And so while I want to lean on many of these different things, many of these contextual issues that plague the Cavs, whether that be injuries or poor shot making or whatever, I mean, whatever, what have you. I can't sit up here and tell you that the Cavaliers didn't have opportunities despite what was ailing them because they did. There were multiple games in this series where They had an opportunity to overcome the adversity and they failed to do so. So it just sucks, man. It just sucks. And that is my candid response to what I've seen. Certainly. I'm not making excuses. That's all I can say. That is literally all I can say, and all I can really do here is just give Indiana their credit because they absolutely felt like the team that was more mentally prepared. They felt like they were physically ready to give Cleveland all they could handle, and that was before the series even started. And I know, it didn't start off on the right foot with DG not even playing in game one, but at the end of the day, the Cavaliers still did themselves no favors. The shot making was just absolutely abysmal, and it was all series long. And you know what pissed me off even more was Ty Jerome. he just he has this terrible series overall from a statistical standpoint, from just an eye test standpoint, offensive, defensive. And he actually comes out tonight when they put him in there and they make some really, really rather he makes some nice shots. Too little, too late. Too little, too late. Tough. I think he lost a good deal of money during the course of this series. And again, like I said, on the other end, on the other the previous live stream, it's not like teams can offer him a lot of money to begin with. They just can't, right? There's not a lot of teams out there that have the cap space to outbid Cleveland, and Cleveland isn't really working with much. But had this been a summer in which Ty Jerome could have gone out and made like a max deal or something like that, gotten a max deal, he absolutely would have lost half of that based upon what they saw in this series. Because oftentimes we see players get paid for playoff performances. We see it happen despite whatever occurred during the regular season. The last thing that happens, the last thing that happens on that court in the postseason is genuinely what a lot of these teams tend to hang their hat on. So Ty is another one of those guys where it's just like, man, you just pissed away a good opportunity to set yourself up for success. And this is not me saying that Ty won't be brought back, because truth be told, I just don't know what the future holds for Ty Jerome. I would assume that Kobe is going to try and bring him back, but I don't know. The question to me is, what do you do because you don't have assets? If you're going to try, if you're going to not retain Ty Jerome, how do you make up for the presence that he brings to the table? And a lot of people are going to say, well, you can try and elevate Jalen Tyson. That's fair. But Jalen clearly is not going to be able to bring you the same level of offense that Ty brought you from an efficiency standpoint. He could get there. And the two-way play from Jalen has been impressive this season at times when he's actually been given real run. I do like his potential, but I think it would be kind of foolish to think that he could replicate exactly, at least during regular season and then the first round. You can't throw away completely what Ty did during the first round. It's still there. It just came against a lesser opponent. To sit here and be so reactionary to say, oh, we don't need him, we don't want him, we shouldn't entertain bringing him back, that would be just foolish, because it's not like you have the funds. You don't have the assets to really make up for a loss like that. You just don't. This man was a $6 million finalist. I understand the performance that we just saw in this series. That's going to leave a sour taste in a lot of people's mouths. But it's not like the Cavaliers have like true ready-made and tested and proven potential during or on this roster. You can point to Craig Porter Jr. Craig Porter Jr. has issues of his own in terms of the three-point shot, in terms of the size. That's something that's always going to be. And Craig does play above his size, but there are a lot of things that people complain about the undersized backcourt and Donovan and Darius that we have now. I'm not sure how keen people would be on CPJ as like the full-time backup point unless he is noticeably improved in specific areas. So we'll see. We'll see what ends up happening there. But past Craig Porter Jr., you don't have a lot else in that area. You can put the ball in JT's hands, meaning Jalen Tyson. I mean, you can try and see what Luke Travers can bring to the table if you want to roll him out as a point forward like we did during the G League with the Cleveland Charge, but you really don't have a lot. That's my point. You don't have proven options behind a Ty Jerome. So it's going to be very interesting to see what Kobe Altman decides to do, what direction. And I understand that is part of the reason why people are saying we need to break up the core four so that we can address some of these other areas. Because we do know that the Cavaliers need assistance at backup five, backup four, really just a backup big in general that they can rely on. Because this season they kind of tried to get by with George Niang before he was traded, Dean Wade, and ultimately DeAndre Hunter splitting time there between the four and the five, with them going small more often than not, or Jaron Allen and Evan Mobley consistently rotating as the guy that would play the minutes at backup five. And it can work. But the problem with that is that you are one injury all the time. You're just one injury away from being shorthanded in that position and not having the size to compete with specific teams. It is just the nature of the beast. And so you want to be able to address that area. You truly do. And the Cavaliers, sans Tristan Thompson, you really don't want to play more than a handful of minutes in very specific matchups. You just don't have that on your roster. There's Khalifa Diop is out there, he's out there and in the atmosphere, but who knows if the Cavaliers are actually going to want to bring him over this summer. We'll see. He was injured. The wrist injury is what stopped him during last summer league from coming over, but one thing is for certain is that they have to find a way to address that position. But the problem is that they can really only offer veteran minimums. That's really all they can do. That is literally all they can do is offer veteran minimums outside of trading a piece that we have right now to address that position. But again, that is specifically why people are saying we need to break the core four up so that we can address some of these. And I'm not here to answer any of those. Frankly, I can't. There's just not a lot that the Cavaliers can do right now without having a deal, without digging deep and putting together some trades in the old trade machine. But make no mistake, the roster that we see right now may not be the same roster that we see come the 2025-26 season. I don't know what the future holds for guys like Isaac Okoro. Remain huge fan of Okoro, but I have to be, I gotta be straight, right? I just gotta call a spade a spade. I gotta be 100. I don't know what the long-term outlook of a guy like Okoro is. I don't know I don't know what the long-term outlook of a guy like Max Strus is. And I'm not saying Max should be moved. I'm just saying that Max is one of those assets that you may have to consider parting with. DeAndre Hunter is another guy where you're like, I think he's going to be brought back because I do believe the Cavaliers will want to slide him into that starting three position next year. I think that is probably what they're going to end up doing. But I say all this to say, we really don't know what the roster is going to look like. We really don't. It's tough to say. It truly is, because there's going to be fans calling for guys to be traded left and right, like they are in the chat right now, like they are on social media right now. But at the end of the day, it's Kobe Altman's decision. He's faced trade pressure from, I don't even really know if you can call it pressure, because these teams don't give a fuck what we think. They're going to make the decision they feel is best for the franchise, for the fan base. So it's really going to be up to Kobe Altman to decide what he would like to do, what the future looks like for many of these guys. But at the end of the day, the Cavaliers find themselves in a predicament. They find themselves in a predicament because they want to say that they made progress this year, right? That's tough to say, right? From a pure objective standpoint, it's hard to look at what happened during the course of this postseason and say that true progress was made. And yes, the injuries do play a role. The context does have to be added as far as that is concerned. But at the end of the day, you still ended in 5 games in the same round that you ended last year. Just like last year, injuries played a role. The difference between this year and last year, though, is that the Cavaliers legitimately had an opportunity to change this, man. They had an opportunity to win multiple games in this series, but they failed to do so. So it's really hard. Just like, and I'm trying to not be too reactionary, but at the same time, I get it, man. I get why people are pissed. Um, but in the moment right now, it doesn't feel like too much progress was made just because we ended the same way that we did last year. It's just tough, man. It is truly, truly tough to watch the team go out the way that they did in this series. Absolutely brutal. So again, you got to give credit where it's due to the Indiana Pacers. They brought it. They were mentally and physically ready for the challenge of taking on the number one seed in the Eastern Conference. And we all know that the regular season is one thing and the postseason is another. There are many narratives that are going to be written about this team, whether or not people believe that they're soft, whether or not they failed, they wet the bed, they shit their pants, things of that nature. There are going to be a lot of narratives that are written about this team, and there's nothing that I can say at this point in time to dispel a lot of that. I don't necessarily think that, from a pure physical standpoint, I'm struggling with the words to say here, but after watching Darius Garland gut it out, after watching Donovan Mitchell lay it all out there and try and play through, and watching DeAndre, and Evan and multiple players on the roster deal with injuries, I can't necessarily say I think they're soft from that perspective, but from a mental perspective, there were many different opportunities that they had. It felt like they choked away, and that's all mental to me. So it's just tough. I mean, you watched what happened to the Boston Celtics, right? With the Jason Tatum injury. And you see that this New York Knicks team is up 3-1 on them. And you're like, oh my God. The Boston Celtics are crashing right now. And listen, even before that Jason Tatum injury, I felt as if the Knicks had a real case to win that series. They were probably going to win that game, whether or not Jason got hurt. But at the end of the day, the Eastern Conference, it is whose call. I don't really know who the hell is going to come out of the East. I mean, the Pacers and the Knicks, these are two teams that not many people entering the year picked to represent the Eastern Conference in the finals. But yet they're here, right? And obviously the Knicks series isn't over yet, but I'm still heavily, especially after the Tatum injury, I think they're going to wrap that series up. So we're going to be likely watching a Knicks Pacers Eastern Conference Finals, and that is just not an Eastern Conference Finals that, outside of people in Indy, outside of people in New York, not a lot of people picked either of those teams to be the representative in the East for the finals. So I guess that's something. From a ratings perspective, I don't know how that plays out. But at the end of the day, I mean, I guess it's cool, right? That you're gonna see a new participant in the finals. Yeah, it's not Boston. It's not Miami. And not a lot of people were picking Cleveland either. Let's just keep it real. Not a lot of people were picking Cleveland to be the finals participant entering the 2024-25 season. And then they got off to this wonderful start. And a lot of people begin to think, hey, this team has what it takes to make it to the finals. And then we just experienced what we experienced. So that just goes to show you just don't know what can happen. And you have to seize the opportunity. And guess what? The Indiana Pacers seized their opportunity. So credit where credit is due. Makes me sad as hell. Not going to lie. I did not want the season to end. But that's exactly what happened. And you just got to give credit where it's due. This game, to me, though, it was brutal. I thought that at numerous occasions that they had something going with the bigs, especially Evan Mobley. There were numerous occasions tonight at which Evan Mobley would drive, or he would show his post game down there. He would hit Indy with a variety of hooks or layups at the rim, whether he be going directly through Miles Turner or Pascal Siakam out there in the paint, and it was working, and they went away from it. Same with the rim running of Jared Allen at points in this series, and that's a whole nother conversation within itself, because there are a lot of people that believe that Jared Allen didn't necessarily step up in this series, and there are a lot of people calling him soft. As a result, especially considering that you can't hit a 3-point shot to save your life. I don't know why you are going away from what was working. I just don't. And then obviously the disparity with the ability to draw calls at the rim. You had Donovan Mitchell and Evan Mobley getting to the rim at will. And I think that Donovan tried his very, very best. So I don't have a lot to say bad. I really just don't have a lot to say in regards to Don outside of the putrid 3-point shooting. I can't excuse that. That's one thing I can't say. But the one thing that I can say is, had Don not been as good as he was in certain aspects in this series, the Cavaliers do get swept in 4 games, and not necessarily gentlemen swept. And I get it, but at the end of the day, you're not in this series without Don, and he isn't blameless. He was very inaccurate from 3-point distance. The missed free throws, that was big, man. That was big, especially when he drew that 3-point play, or the 3-point foul, and he proceeded to miss all 3. I'm like, oh my God. When that happened, I'm like, this shit is done. It was not meant for us to win this series, or at the very least, it was not meant for Cleveland to win the game. There were just too many missed opportunities at the line, from beyond the arc. It was bad. The Cavaliers as a collective tonight, by the way, shot 70.3% from the charity stripe. Donovan Mitchell, if I'm not mistaken, was 15 of 21. 15 of 21. That's a lot of damn fouls. That's a lot of damn free throws as a result. And guess what? He only made 71.4%. Again, I already mentioned Evan Mobley was able to get to the line at will as well, but he was a little bit more efficient, 7 of 9, which is 77.8%. And Evan, I thought he was one of the guys in this game that was actually putting in a lot of work. 24 points, 11 rebounds, 2 blocks. We know what he does from a defensive aspect. So I don't question his performance tonight, but clearly it was not enough. It's tough, man. It's tough. And there are only so many ways that I can reiterate what occurred tonight. So I'm just gonna end the reactionary standpoint, or whatever you want to call it, at this. The Cavaliers, this was a missed opportunity. Yeah, the context of the injuries, the health, that plays a role. But at the end of the day, so too does the lackadaisical defense at times and the poor shot making. So credit where it's due to the Indiana Pacers in that regard. Let's hop into the chat, where I'm sure there are a ton of Pacers fans ready to give Cleveland Cavaliers fans such as myself shit. And it's hard, man. I try and keep it balanced. I try and keep it fair. I try and be very, very friendly with opposing fan bases. I'm going to try and do that tonight, but We'll see. We'll see what what the chat has to say. Isaac G says, "Yeah, give hope, bro. I try, man. I even when it's very very difficult for me to believe in this team because I want to. Who doesn't want to believe in their team, right? Even if like in your heart of hearts you feel like this team has no fucking chance of winning or they're done, they're cooked even before the game starts. You never want to not believe in them. But there are moments throughout a game, there are moments throughout a series where they look like they don't even believe in themselves. You know what I mean? It's tough. Blue Smooch says you might have to part ways with Allen in this one. This is another one of those decisions for Kobe Altman, man. It is truly tough to say what the future holds for any uh, any player on this team. I myself don't believe in a member of the core four is going to be moved because I just don't necessarily know what you're going. Like the package would have to be very specific, but we'll see. Blue Tober says Cleveland Fraudaliers. Andrew says soft team. Jacob RE says waste of 64 wins. Certainly feels that way. It really does. Alec Shager says, you know what? We showed some real grit. Really disappointing, but we didn't give up. Yeah, I mean, I guess you could say that about a number of players. Donovan certainly didn't look like he wanted to give up. Darius tried at the end of the game. Even Ty Jerome, who's been shitty all series long, contributed. Finally, Evan Mobley did what he did. Oh man, Lesmooch says good games to Pacers. Yeah, credit where credit is due. Another world says can't win the finals with a no physicality in your starting five. I mean, sometimes the obvious is what ends up playing out, and the Cavaliers clearly have some flaws that they need to work out. Ramon Ortiz says, "What's time to go cold?" I assume he is saying what a time to go cold. Yeah, I mean, really, you could say that about this entire series, save for a game or two here or there. D Jackson says, "Just wow." Nick Morgan says, "Cavs gonna have to serve time for committing that fraud." Damn, bro. I mean, I got my liquid copium right here. What else can I say, bro? Pour one out. Pour one out for the Cavaliers. Episto says, "Thanks for the coverage all year. Appreciate it. I appreciate each one of you guys to come in here and spend time talking to me, especially on nights as shitty as tonight." K Dog LV says, "We appreciate you being here for the fans after each and every game this season and playoffs." Dog, it was not easy. I consider myself a bit of an Iron Man. I have truly tried to be on here. I think I did miss one stream. But at the end of the day, this will be the last one for the at least for this season, right? I will be on. I will be still releasing content. I'll be going live when I can here and there, but this will be the last post game. So it sucks, man. It sucks to go out like this. In and Out of the Abyss says Hero Ball. Like I got hated on Cap's Twitter for mentioning months ago. It really hurt us tonight offensively. I mean, there were different moments throughout this series where it felt like hero ball was necessary. And then there were moments when it felt like it was hurting the Cavaliers, where the ball movement was stagnant. They actually it showed tonight at points where it was like one pass, and guys are looking for the shot out on the perimeter, or they're taking a tough contested mid-range shot or something at the rim instead of trying to move the rock like they had been all season. Sucks to go out this way. Tom McGillis says the Pacers wanted it more, it seemed. Yeah, that's how it feels. Be honest says pretenders. CJ Mr. 216 says we stopped moving the ball. That we did. I think I just mentioned that. Cavs King 2016 says every year around this time they have no identity and no teams ever fear them. I suppose that's true. Vince says shooting this poorly is unacceptable. I agree, man. They were shooting dead last in terms of percentages entering this game, and it was not any better tonight. Again, they were shooting 30.2% in the second round prior to tonight's action. They came and they finished tonight shooting 25.7% from three-point distance. That is ice cold. That's like frozen. That's like Pluto level cold out there. Shory B3 says, I think I'm done with the too big, too guard experiment now. Um, Tough to say. It truly is. There's a world that I feel like it still could work, but at the end of the day, I don't have the answers, man. I truly don't. I want to believe in them. I want to believe the core four works, but it's truly hard to say after watching what we just watched. Andrew Townsend says, much respect to Cleveland Pacers fans here. um, Cleveland Pacer fan here. Oh, respect to you too, Andre. Alex Sugar says, reminds me of when J.R. Smith totally threw off the momentum of the series years back. The game two disaster set the tone. That was, I'm not sure if you're talking about game one of the 2018 finals in which all hell broke loose when JR forgot what was going on. Or another game too in a different series. Taylor says a lot of GMs in the chat keep your day jobs. And this is why I try and like stay away from talk centering around who should be moved, like what should happen, what should occur. And I leave that a lot of the times to Kobe Allman. It's fun to speculate. It's fun to hop into the trade machine or fanspo, whatever you want to use to conduct said trades. But at the end of the day, it's so damn hard to try and like speculate on what direction the team is going to go in regards to specific players. I mean, how many of you out there really thought that Luka Doncic would be on the move this season? I don't think anybody had that on their cards. It's just hard. It truly is. D Jackson says, I want to cry right now. I won't blame you if you do, bro. I won't. JCBS says, I'm just heartbroken, man. I'm right there with you, man. I did not want this season to end tonight, and I certainly didn't want to end it in this fashion. So it's truly tough. XBeat says, good summer, y'all Cavs fans. See you next season. Love from Spain. As always, XBeat, I appreciate you. I know that's a tough to join the live with such time differences in where I'm recording and, and obviously the Cavaliers playing and you being in Spain. So major props to you. Big ups to you. Savage says Pacers were the better team in every way. There are a lot of people that probably believe that. There are a lot of people that probably don't believe that. To me, it's about whether or not how you truly view both teams. Dustin Abrams says, man, you didn't give them any love before. I'm not sure who you're referring to. If you're talking about me, Dustin, I would encourage you to go back and watch each stream during this series. And I would encourage you to watch the series preview because that is 100% false. Good try, though. Nick Morgan says, I wonder what the excuse will be from Kobe. We'll see. Abdul Smith says, up 19 and still lost at home. What the hell does that tell you? John Bontia says, we need to go to Allen and Mobley all game. Too many jump shots. Yeah, this team has a real bad problem with being too jump shot reliant. And a lot of times it's crazy because you'll see them lean on the jump shot when one of Jared Allen or Evan Mobley is not available and you don't have double big, and they'll just fall back on the jump shot. But even in specific instances like tonight where they have both available, they're still over reliant and they don't use some of the advantages that they have that are working. Like going to Evan Mobley, that was working. Pacers could not necessarily stop Evan. So going away from that sucks. That's a Kenny Atkinson thing too. So that's a whole nother thing. That's truly a whole nother thing. Karan Walker says they thought they was special after beating the Heat. What can I say, man? What can I say? I came into this series saying the level of opponents between the two, like the gap between the Pacers and the Heat, there's a large gap. Different types of opponents. And I didn't want people to get too high, and so I tried to give all respect to the Pacers throughout the duration, even before the series began. But clearly, Indy and Miami are two different types of teams. Mark Ingalls says 3 all-stars, 3 all joke. Floyd Phillips second says highest efficiency players need to get the most shots. I agree. Evan Mobley certainly qualifies as that. Rick Sakuda says couldn't handle Pacers pressure all series, couldn't get into our offense. I think that is valid. One of the things that I put in the series preview was the full court pressure. That was one of the keys to the series, overcoming the full court press. We saw how impactful that can be. It's not just, it doesn't start once the ball is inbounded. It starts before the ball is inbounded. Literally, it starts before Cleveland is able to get the ball in bounds, because they're making sure that you don't have a good line of sight. They're making sure that you don't have the ability to comfortably get the ball to one of your best ball handlers out there. And you saw, like, from an individual perspective, how badly that affected somebody like Ty Jerome, for instance, who is not the quickest guard out there, not the biggest or best athlete out there. And that's why you were hurting not having Darius Garland out there initially, right? So that press and that the pressure that they were applying, just overall, that was definitely something that Indy managed to masterfully pull off. Certainly one of the things that I knew would be key, and guess what? It was. We'll see. Scotty Man says, do you think the injuries killed our momentum? Listen, I'm going to try and be as blunt as I can in regards to this one. Cleveland had injuries that affected the series. Clearly. If you're a rational fan, doesn't matter who you're a fan of, whether you're a Pacers fan or you're a Cavaliers fan, the reasonable people out there will understand that, yes, the injuries did play a role. But I don't know how we watch them get 20-point leads in game 2 and get 19-point lead tonight and blame it on injuries in terms of killing momentum. The Cavaliers had opportunities. They just failed to close it out. They failed to capitalize. So yes, I think two things can be true ultimately. I think, yes, the Cavaliers' injuries did play a role in this series, a big role, a larger role than a lot of people will care to realize, understand, or give it credit for. But at the end of the day, you can't necessarily fall back on the injuries entirely, because the Cavaliers had opportunities. And this is coming from one of the bigger homers in this fan base. This is coming from one of the most positive, optimistic fans in the fan base. I gotta call a spade a spade. You can't blame the injuries totally for what occurred. They're a factor for sure, but in Scotty, I'm sure you're not saying that, but I'm just saying it is. We can't fall into the trap of blaming the injuries completely in terms of not only how it affected the series, but how it killed the momentum in specific games, or even in quarters. We want to go quarter by quarter, right? Because there was a great first quarter that the Cavaliers had tonight. But it's tough, man. It's tough. Totally difficult to discern for a lot of people. Like, the injuries definitely played a factor, but they weren't the ultimate nail in the coffin. The Cavaliers did themselves no favors. 214 Bean says, Kenny helps kill the momentum by making substitutions at the wrong time. We went away from feeding the bigs, and for some reason, DG and Mitchell started playing iso ball. I think Beans might be onto something here. Far be it from me to completely blame Kenny Atkinson, but he certainly deserves blame, just like the players do in this series. People were saying prior to this, there were a lot of people out there actually saying that Kenny had 0 adjustments. I think that's false, right? The 3-2 zone with Evan Mobley at the top of the key in game 4, or game 3 rather, was masterful. It was a masterful adjustment. It worked, but guess what? Indy is capable of adjusting themselves. Rick Carlisle is capable of adjusting himself. And that's what happened. They shot over the zone in game 4. That continued in game 5 after the first quarter, in which you saw Tyrese Halliburton. You saw numerous Pacers players begin to knock down shots. Like, the adjustments in real time are difficult, it seems, for Kenny to make. And let me tell you something. Let me tell you something. Kenny has actually struggled. If you've watched his utilization of the zone specifically this season, he has not known when to go away or pull the plug on the zone all season long. Like, I shit you not. I'm not lying to you when I say this. I think that Kenny, one of his biggest issues is the over reliance on specific defensive coverages. And I think that his inability to understand when to go away from that and try something new, whether it man to man or you're flipping the zone that you're using, where you're going full court press, or you're playing box and one, right? There's a lot of different things you can try to employ to throw off a team. But there were a lot of missed opportunities for Kenny in this from a adjustment standpoint. And there were also a lot of substitution issues. I don't know what the right words would be to use, but I think the rotations at times, the timing of said substitutions and rotations certainly didn't help. I think that he tried his best to include Ty Jerome and get him going. And I listen, I'm not gonna stray away from this. I was one of the people out there that felt like, okay, you're gonna need Ty to get hot. You're gonna need him to get his shot going. So yeah, keep trying to give him minutes. But there were specific occasions during this series where I'm like, okay, Kenny, the minutes that you're giving Ty, they're not working. Put him on the bench for a little bit. Go to Craig Porter Jr., go to Sam Merrill. Sam was not available tonight, by the way. If I hadn't already mentioned that, you didn't know. Now you know. Um, give Sam some minutes, give Isaac minutes, give Jalen Tyson some minutes. Try something different because Ty clearly did not have it. But at the end of the day, this still was a great overall first season from Kenny Atkinson. So I know it's tough in real time to see what just occurred and have faith in the future direction of anybody on this team. But at the end of the day, um, it was still a really good first season for Kenny Atkinson. He still did end up winning Coach of the Year, and I know in the grand scheme of things, that's a regular season award. People don't care. Um, it's just it's just tough, man, to watch things play out the way that he did. 214 Beans also says, what do you see in real time? Is every time that you sub in Ty, the lead narrows, it's not working. Your eyes will tell you what is happening in real time. I mean, I agree, right? I think we're in agreement with that. I think that he was over relying on specific players in this series, and Ty was definitely one of them. I know the injuries played a role in that, having to try and rely on Ty when DG was unavailable at times, and obviously with Sam not being available tonight. Um, you're going to tend to over rely on guys who have, from a seasonal standpoint, been able to contribute, but everything just did not work out. that's I mean, everything that could go wrong went wrong in this series. It was a true embodiment of Murphy's Law. The Master of Ankles says, I just joined the stream, so if it's already been mentioned, then cool. DG and Allen have to be gone. Enough of the bullshit. Maximize Evan Mobley's potential already. Look, that's it. Just dependent on the deal, man. There are so many people that are going to call for the trade of of DG and Allen, but you got to throw deals out there because you cannot just throw a deal out there, or you can't necessarily just throw a statement out there like we need to trade this player or that player without actually putting a deal out there. It doesn't necessarily make any real point. Yes, I think that people are going to be screaming for change this offseason, and that very well could happen, but consider that they're a second apron team. Consider that they aren't flush with assets or cap space. The deals that they make are going to have to be very specific, very specific. It's tough because they don't have a lot of options. They don't have a lot of options. Truly don't. I think that is probably a good place to leave it at, guys. Thanks for rocking with me all year long. I plan on being I plan on streaming all off season and trying to delve into the usual specifics, whether that be draft coverage. Cavaliers have a late second But we'll see what happens, man. That we will see what happens in regards to some things this off season. But the point of what I'm saying is I'm not going anywhere. I'm still gonna try and be as forthcoming with content as I usually am. Appreciate you guys, man. I truly do. Even the people in here that are not normally in here for these, it's always fun to converse with you guys. And I truly appreciate you joining me every single night. That said, as I always tell you, if you'd like to reach out to me, you know how you can. It's Cavalier_pod on Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, and more. If you want to be added to the It's Cavalier Discord chat, you know what to do. Leave a rating, leave a review, send you a screenshot, set a review to It's Cavalier53 at gmail.com, and I will send you said invite. If you're watching over on Next, like I know a great deal of you are, do your boy a favor, head over to YouTube, hit that like button, subscribe if you're not yet a subscriber to the podcast. Takes like 10 to 15 seconds, and you don't know how much you actually help your boy out when you do that. And if you want to support the pod in a small but meaningful way, consider becoming a member over on Patreon. You can do so for as little as $1 a month. Now, I'm going to be upfront with you guys. The Patreon is not flush with content, like specific Patreon level content right now, but this off season is going to give me the opportunity to kind of revamp what that looks like and to offer specific things that 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 I don't have on the channel. So, any help there is appreciated. But if you don't, it's no worries, no skin off my back. I will still be releasing content. Been a hell of a season. Sad to see it go out this way. But again, much love to you guys. I appreciate you for being there with me, and go Cavs.